From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Zahra Syed. Our top story tonight. Palestinian athletes are making a significant statement at the 2024 Paris Olympics. Palestine, a member of the International Olympic Committee since 1995, is competing with 8 athletes across various sports, including athletics, boxing, and swimming. Upon arriving in Paris on July 25th, the Palestinian delegation was greeted by supporters advocating for the recognition of their state and athletes. Palestinian swimmer Yazan al-Bawab, who competed in the 100-meter backstroke, highlighted the struggles of representing a nation lacking basic resources. He said, "We're not treated like human beings," reflecting on the lack of formal recognition from France. The following day, athletes floated down the scene with the Palestinian flag and traditional kafiyehs. Flag bearer Wasim Abu Sal and swimmer Valerie Tarazi wore outfits symbolizing their struggle and heritage. Al-Bawab expressed his pride in representing Palestine, emphasizing the significance of his participation as a message of peace and equality. France in May said conditions were not right to officially recognize a Palestinian state. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump stirred controversy by suggesting Christians should vote in November and not worry about future elections. Addressing a Christian rally in West Palm Beach in Florida, Trump assured his supporters, "Just this time, in 4 years, you won't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good, you're not going to have to vote." Critics, including Senator Martin Heinrich's communications director and MSNBC host Katie Phang, expressed concern that Trump's comments implied a plan to undermine democratic norms and potentially remain in power indefinitely. Although major U.S. media initially downplayed the remarks, experts on authoritarianism and international observers are urging Americans to take the warnings seriously. Trump's rhetoric, combined with his past efforts to overturn the 2020 elections, has raised alarms about his commitment to democratic principles. In the past, Trump has expressed admiration for strongmen around the world and has framed his 2024 campaign as one of retribution. A Pew poll from April showed more than 80% of white evangelicals support him. Vice President Kamala Harris shattered expectations with a remarkable $200 million raised in her first week as presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. This impressive haul highlights fervent support for her campaign, which also boasts the recruitment of 170,000 new volunteers. The surge in fundraising and volunteer numbers follows President Joe Biden's unexpected withdrawal from the race and endorsement of Harris. Observers say her campaign is buzzing with energy as it prepares for a highly competitive election. Harris's rapid rise has invigorated Democrats after Biden's underwhelming debate performance against Donald Trump in June, which cast doubt on his ability to lead. With less than 100 days until Election Day, Harris's campaign is positioning itself strongly for a closely fought battle in key states. Vice President Kamala Harris has seen a significant boost in her favorability ratings, rising to 43% in a recent ABC News Ipsos poll, up from 35% last week. This increase follows President Joe Biden's withdrawal from the 2024 presidential race, which positioned Harris as the likely Democratic nominee. However, despite Harris's improved ratings, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump still holds a slim lead. In a Wall Street Journal poll, Trump leads Harris 49% to 47%. The same poll highlights Harris's rising favorability amongst voters, which has jumped from 35% to 46%, while Trump stands at 47%. Harris has gained key endorsements and fundraising momentum since Biden's exit. The Wall Street Journal poll conducted from July 23rd to 25th had a margin of error of plus or minus 3.1%. Vote.org has reported a dramatic surge in U.S. voter registrations, with more than 100,000 new voters signing up since President Joe Biden exited the presidential race. The increase, driven largely by young voters, reflects growing mobilization efforts amid heightened Republican attempts to restrict ballot access. The group, which is known for its influential voter registration platform, highlights that 84% of these new registrants are under 35, with nearly 20% being 18 years old. The surge comes as Republicans are proposing legislations like the SAFE Act, which demands proof of citizenship to vote. Critics say this targets minority and young voters. Democratic lawmakers are countering with bills aimed at protecting voting rights, such as the Right to Vote Act and the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. As Republican-led states impose stricter voting laws, including hefty fines for registration violations, the battle over ballot access is intensifying. The U.S. has condemned an attack on the ethnic Druze town of Majdal Shams in Israeli-occupied northern Golan Heights that killed 11 people on Saturday. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby emphasized support for Israel's security against the actions of Iranian-backed groups, including Lebanese Hezbollah. Tensions have risen along Lebanon's border with Israel amid cross-border attacks between Hezbollah and Israeli forces. This is as Tel Aviv presses ahead with its ongoing war in Gaza, which has killed approximately 40,000 Palestinians, including thousands of civilians and children. A letter published by experts in the medical journal The Lancet earlier this month estimated that Israel has killed at least 186,000 Palestinians. Israel has been accused of genocide by the International Court of Justice for its war on Gaza. The U.S. military has destroyed 6 Houthi uncrewed aerial vehicles, or UAVs, in a Houthi-controlled area and 3 uncrewed surface vessels operating off the coast of Yemen. U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, claimed these weapons presented an imminent threat to U.S. coalition forces and merchant vessels in the region. The Houthis have been targeting Israeli-linked cargo ships in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden in solidarity with Gaza. The Red Sea is one of the world's most frequently used sea routes for oil and fuel shipments. Earlier this year, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced a multinational mission, Operation Prosperity Guardian, to counter Houthi attacks. The World Health Organization has arranged the treatment of 250 Palestinian women and children outside of Gaza. Palestinian children boarded buses with their families and crossed through the Karam Abu Salim gate from American Hospital to reach the West Bank. Flouting a UN Security Council resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire, Israel has faced international condemnation amid its continued war on Gaza since October, which has killed thousands of children and civilians. Archbishop condemns Paris Olympics' Last Supper parody. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. Welcome back. Archbishop Charles Scicluna of Malta has joined a growing chorus of protesters condemning a controversial segment of the Paris Olympics' opening ceremony, the parody Leonardo da Vinci's iconic Last Supper. Drag queens parodied da Vinci's rendition of the Last Supper, Jesus Christ's final meal with his disciples. The Catholic Church has deemed the reinterpretation of the biblical scene as deeply offensive. Archbishop Scicluna, who also serves as an adjunct secretary of the Holy See's Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, expressed his dismay in a social media post. He said he has communicated his distress to the French ambassador to Malta and urged others to follow his example and convey their objections. His sentiments were echoed by the Catholic Church in France, with a conference of French bishops releasing a statement condemning the segment. At least 39 Palestinians have been killed and 93 injured in the last 24 hours in Gaza, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Heavy fighting continues in Khan Yunis, with Israeli forces clashing with Palestinian fighters. The Israeli Air Force has targeted around 35 locations, resulting in numerous casualties in Rafah and Khan Yunis. The municipality of Rafah says the Israeli army bombed a crucial drinking water reservoir in Tel el-Sultan, calling it a crime against humanity. The bombing is worsening Gaza's severe water crisis. Former Palestinian prisoners and lawyers interviewed by the Washington Post have revealed systemic violence and deprivation in Israeli jails. Since Israel's war on Gaza began last October, at least 12 Palestinians have reportedly died from abuse in Israeli prisons, according to the Physicians for Human Rights Israel. Israel has so far killed roughly 39,363 Palestinians and injured 90,000 923 others. Additionally, the Palestinian Ministry of Education reports about 10,000 students and 400 teachers have died. In an article in the British medical journal The Lancet published earlier this month, some experts have claimed Palestinian deaths in Gaza could be as high as 186,000 since Israel began its war. The International Court of Justice has accused Israel of genocide, ordering immediate halt to its military operations in Rafah. In Gaza, recent evacuation orders for Burej and Nuseirat by Israel have forced tens of thousands of Palestinians to seek safety. The UN Refugee Agency, or the UNRWA, reports that 86% of Gaza's territory is affected, leaving no safe area for residents. More than 180,000 Palestinians have fled from southern Gaza's Khan Yunis city in just 4 days due to intense fighting. The UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs highlights these intensified hostilities have triggered new waves of displacement across Gaza. The Israeli military, after ordering evacuations, launched operations to recover prisoners' bodies from tunnels and walls in Khan Yunis. This week, Israeli forces claimed they eliminated roughly 100 Hamas fighters and recovered 5 bodies of prisoners seized during the October 7th raid by Hamas. Despite these efforts, 111 Israelis are still held prisoner in Gaza, with 39 confirmed dead. The conflict has displaced most of Gaza's 2.4 million residents at least once. Sean Grayson, a former Illinois sheriff's deputy charged with murdering Sonia Massey on July 6th, was previously dismissed from the U.S. Army for serious misconduct. Grayson, indicted on charges related to Massey's death, was discharged from the Army in 2016 under circumstances that involved serious offenses. Despite this, he was employed by 6 police departments across central Illinois. The Department of Justice is investigating the shooting. Army records reveal Grayson was discharged with a general status suggesting partial dishonor. The nature of his misconduct remains unclear, but it is known to be significant enough to impact his military career. Observers say Grayson's discharge record highlights potential red flags for future employers. Anthony Giotto, a former Air Force prosecutor, said the kind of discharge suggests Grayson committed an offensive equivalent to something that would have led to at least a year of incarceration for a civilian. In a historic first for Pakistan, musician Usman Riaz has created the country's inaugural hand-drawn animated feature, The Glassworker. What began as a simple sketch a decade ago has transformed into a stunning anti-war film set in a fantastical world. The story revolves around young Vincent and his father Tomas, whose glass workshop faces turmoil as war threatens their lives and Vincent's relationship with violinist Aliz strains their bond. Inspired by Japan's Studio Ghibli, Riaz spent years seeking mentorship and raised $116,000 through crowdfunding, founding Mano Animations to bring his vision to life. Despite the challenges and a lack of financial gain, Riaz's dedication to hand-drawn animation has crafted a moving experience, highlighting the delicate beauty of life. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Your support is needed more than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.